Right now, new details about the deadly attack on Bourbon Street.
This was an act of terrorism. It was premeditated and an evil act.
The suspect, feds are now saying, acted on his own.
Just heard a loud crash explosion outside.
And tonight, new information on that suspect, and witnesses take us inside the chaos.
In weather, here comes a cold plunge of air. We drop below zero with wind chills overnight and stay there all day tomorrow with the sunshine. We'll have your weekend forecast.
Then all eyes on a special election in Roseville that will shape who holds the power at the Minnesota State House. The candidates scrambling to fill the seat. Plus, half a dozen Vikings picked for the Pro Bowl, more than half of them for the very first time. The news starts now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are live in New Orleans along Bourbon Street right now, where people are slowly starting to return as we learn new details about the investigation into the terror attack that unfolded there just 36 hours ago. The FBI now says the attack killed 14 people, and they believe the suspect, who was shot and killed by police, acted alone. After the attack, officials postponed the Sugar Bowl by a day. The college football game is taking place right now at the Caesars Superdome, which is about a mile away from Bourbon Street. Before kickoff, players and fans took a moment to honor the victims. There is a Minnesotan in that stadium tonight calling the game on the radio for Notre Dame. Danny Spiewak spoke with him this afternoon about the attack and what it's been like in New Orleans ever since. Danny?
Julie, before kickoff today, Cretin-Durham Hall graduate Ryan Harris called me from the Notre Dame radio booth. He told me police and National Guard members have the Superdome swarmed today with a level of security that reminds him of when he played in the Super Bowl in 2015. After exploring the French Quarter on New Year's Eve,
we heard some great jazz music, but decided to head our way home a little early.
Minnesota native Ryan Harris and his wife returned to their hotel just hours before the attack on Bourbon Street.
It was a terrifying morning, waking up to dozens of missed calls.
Harris, a Cretin-Durham Hall grad who played at Notre Dame and then in the NFL, is in New Orleans calling the Sugar Bowl on radio for the Irish. The college football playoff game was delayed one day because of the attack.
120 members on two teams. Everybody was making sure that their families were safe. For the first couple hours of the day, no one was doing anything related to football.
One day later, New Orleans reopened Bourbon Street on Thursday and bolstered security outside the Superdome for the Sugar Bowl.
We're ready to continue to host large-scale events in our city because we are built to host.
Meanwhile, the FBI is leading a team of more than 1,000 law enforcement officers working to learn more about the suspect, Shamsuddin Jabbar, a Texas native and military veteran.
He was 100% inspired by ISIS, and so we're digging through more of the social media, more interviews.
Investigators say they still don't know how the suspect became so radicalized. Former classmates say they're surprised too.
It's just tragic, and I never saw this coming.
Neither did the thousands of visitors in town for the Sugar Bowl.
We were safe, and my thoughts are with the 14 families who got the worst imaginable call on the first day of the year that they had lost their loved ones.
Another important detail here, the FBI now says they believe the suspect acted alone in this case. They say they do not have any evidence of accomplices at this time, and also no evidence right now that the New Orleans attack on Bourbon Street has any connection to that Las Vegas explosion. Julie.
All right, we'll have more on that explosion in a moment. Thank you, Danny.
It's heart-wrenching.
The triage process it's brutal. I mean, you've got to focus on the people who are alive but are on the verge. I mean, it was horrible to see, absolutely horrible.
We're starting to hear tonight from people who saw that tragedy unfold firsthand, like this couple who were in a hotel on Bourbon Street when the attack happened. Their room was right above the spot where the truck crashed.
A lot of confusion, and so few people realized what had happened on Bourbon Street. And so there was just, a lack of direction, confusion, and we tried to help, comfort some people who did see the same thing that we saw. But it was just shock, nobody's prepared for something like this.
That couple was visiting for the new year and says they still have a few days left in New Orleans. They're going to spend the rest of their trip, they say, getting out of the city to try to see something beautiful. We are constantly getting updates on this story, and we will share them with you on air and online. Well, several hundred miles away, we have new details on the man linked to a rented Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Police say Matthew Livelsberger was a decorated Army Green Beret who lived in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Vegas police now say he shot himself in the head before blowing up the Cybertruck. But it has been difficult to 100% verify his identity because he was burned beyond recognition. Officers did find his military ID and passport in the Cybertruck, which was rented in his name. Right now, the FBI and local authorities are investigating whether the explosion is linked to terrorism. But so far, as Danny mentioned, authorities say there does not appear to be a link to the attack in New Orleans. All right, let's turn our attention now to the weather and a reminder that January is here. Some very cold air is moving in tonight, and the wind chill will be in dangerous territory when you wake up tomorrow morning. But a beautiful sunset tonight, Val.
I know, really pretty. And I was looking for sunset and sunrise times, Julie. And the good news is we're already eking toward gaining about a minute a day. So I know it takes a while to really notice, but we have a beautiful shot from our VAC TV folks down in Stillwater on the Water Street. And look at the folks walking across that gorgeous river on this beautiful evening in Stillwater. It is 18 at the airport, west to northwest winds at 16 miles an hour, and it does feel like 3 degrees, so we can handle it. We're Minnesotans, Wisconsin folks on the other side of the border there, and we anticipate a cold day tomorrow, but plenty of sunshine to enjoy. Right now it's already 5 in Bemidji, 11 Alexandria, 18 in Marshall, and these winds are not helping out. That, of course, is what's going to be giving us these wind chills overnight, dropping just at midnight down to 1 below and remaining below 0 wind chill wise all day tomorrow. We'll talk about the weekend and the next few days in just a few minutes, Julie.
All right. Thank you, Belle. Tonight, Republicans have a very slim edge in the Minnesota State House after a judge ruled Democrat Curtis Johnson does not live in the Roseville district in which he ran. That set up a special election at the end of January with a fresh round of candidates who had just hours' notice to apply to run. Jennifer Hoff is digging deeper into who they are for us tonight. Jennifer?
Julie, one Democrat already securing the party's endorsement last night. David Gottfried will face 4 other DFLers first in a primary on the 14th, while Republican Paul Wickstrom, who was the party's nominee back in November, will run again after filing the lawsuit that put all this in motion.
Democrat Curtis Johnson first won the Roseville area House seat, now still up for grabs, beating Republican Paul Wickstrom by about 30 points last November, except Wickstrom filed a lawsuit alleging Johnson didn't live there, and a judge agreed. Setting up a special election, Wickstrom will run in again.
We need to continue to confront fraud in our state government and in the politics. We need to make sure that we're building trust in our political environment. Most importantly, I think we need to bring balance back to our state government.
Wickstrom doesn't have any political experience and is an engineer by trade, focused on making Minnesota more affordable and improving public safety.
So as a Republican candidate, I have made very good progress into achieving more support within the community.
The district is heavily favored blue, and the DFL party just endorsed David Gottfried, who lost against Johnson earlier this year and will now go up against 4 other candidates in a primary in 2 weeks.
I do know this district. I know its people. I know its values.
Gottfried grew up here and plans to start door knocking tomorrow, fighting for workers' rights and environmental protections.
We are going to be 100% above board in this race. We understand that transparency and integrity are crucial going forward. And so I want to look for opportunities to work in a bipartisan manner to improve the lives of Minnesotans while we hold true to our progressive values as a DFL party.
So Republicans now have a 1-seat majority in the House, which holds when the legislative session begins again on January 14th. The special election is set for 2 weeks later on the 28th, and depending on the outcome of that, Julie, could set up another tie. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Special election is also happening soon for a Senate seat in District 60, which covers northeast Minneapolis. That's after Democrat Kare died following a battle with cancer. 13 candidates, 10 of them Democrats, have filed to run for her seat. That primary is also set for January 14th, which is the first day of the legislative session. And again, the special election for both races is January 28th. Take a live look at our nation's capital right now, where in about 12 hours, lawmakers will convene for the start of the 119th Congress. Republicans control both chambers and will give President-elect Donald Trump a Republican trifecta when he takes office in just over 2 weeks. Up first on the docket is electing a new House Speaker. Representative Mike Johnson, who has Trump's support, is the current Speaker. Republicans are hoping to avoid the chaos that surrounded the last vote when Kevin McCarthy was ousted after 15 ballots and replaced by Johnson. Sparks could fly again as some Republicans are voicing their opposition to Johnson, and he needs nearly every Republican vote, with the party having a slim majority right now of 2019 to 2015 in the House. Well, over the holidays, you probably noticed it. A lot of people coming down with respiratory viruses. Positive cases and hospitalizations across the country have slowly started creeping up in recent weeks. Sammy Selena is here with a closer look at cases here in Minnesota. Sammy?
Yeah, Julie, there's been a sharp increase in the proportion of visits to the ER for flu and COVID-like symptoms in Minnesota. That's according to the latest report by the health department. MDH told us that while COVID infection trends seem to remain largely the same from previous weeks, flu and RSV have both increased. We stopped by HCMC today to find a very busy emergency department. They said on December 27th they had their busiest day of 2024 and saw 365 people, many of them with respiratory illnesses.
We're trying our best. We are trying to make as many accommodations as we can to seeing patients as kind of quickly and safely as possible. A lot of the care happens out in our triage area because in the emergency department we're still boarding a lot of patients due to lack of inpatient bed availability.
Now, coming up at 6:30, we take a closer look at these trends and what you can do to protect yourself. Julie.
All right. Thank you, Sammy. And it's not just respiratory viruses spreading right now. There's also a surge in norovirus, which some people call the stomach flu. It spreads through direct contact with contaminated surfaces and infected people's hands. Both types of flu had ideal conditions to spread recently.
Norovirus is the most common cause of gastrointestinal symptoms: nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. It's really kind of a miserable illness. You put together a holiday party that's crowded and people talking loudly at one another with not much ventilation, and that's the ideal setting for spreading the respiratory viruses.
A few things you can do to stay healthy: wipe down surfaces like countertops, wash your hands regularly, and if you're sick, stay home so you don't infect other people. Coming up, a big win for several Viking players who got the call to the Pro Bowl. Plus, you could score a sailboat for $1, but there is a catch. Why the owner wants to get rid of it and how you can get it, coming up.